Hey everybody, my name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ Film Festival. This is our 35th anniversary year. We've had some amazing programs, both in person and online. Thank you all for the support you've given us. Thanks to our filmmakers who've submitted some amazing films. One of our favorite shorts programs is Being Who We Are that we showed in person on September 26th. And now it's streaming through October 9th. And we have some filmmakers today to talk about their projects. So I will let the Zoom room introduce themselves. We'll start with Kyle.
Yeah, my name is Kyle B. Thompson. I am the director of a short film called Parrot.
Hi guys, my name is Xiang, and I'm the filmmaker of a short film called Foreign Uncle.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Andy Valentine, and I am the director of The Letterman.
Great.
Hi everyone, I'm Averi Israel, and I'm the writer-director of Sequin.
Again, thank you all for your films. I mean, the audiences have loved them. The scores have been very, very high. So I'm very excited to be able to talk to you today. I wanted to ask you about the making of your film. I mean, were there particular inspirations for these films and how personal these films are to each of you?
Yeah, so Parrot is about, just a little backstory about a drag queen who protects a child during an active shooter threat that takes place during a drag queen story hour. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, I didn't write the story, but our writer who came across this in a headline 2 or 3 years ago down in Texas, where drag queen story hours, those are pretty heavily protested all over the nation, even still today they are.
Yeah.
So, there was a gentleman who brought a gun to one of those sort of to scare it off. Nothing happened. But, I think what inspired us to make the story is when we read it, we took it sort of a step further of, what would happen. But also we kind of want to sort of strip away sort of what I think we see a lot on the news is like, guy bringing a gun and kind of making it, I think the heart of the film is about sort of human connection and sort of, having two people come from different opposite perspectives and how they can bring together and how they can learn something from each other. So that's sort of, I guess, that was kind of a, long-handed answer to that question, but that's sort of where our story was inspired from. It just, I think it was a story that needed to be told. And unfortunately, the story is becoming more and more relevant today, which is kind of, the unfortunate piece about our film.
Okay.
I hope that answered your question, sorry.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, for me, it is a very personal film. Foreign Uncle. It's based on my real experience of coming out to my family, and then I brought my boyfriend back to China to visit my family, and like during the course, they really like my boyfriend before they knew he's my boyfriend, and after I came out, all of a sudden their attitude kind of changed and it become really complicated, except for my 7-year-old nephew. So that's why I made this film to focus on their relationship and also to kind of like help my family to go through this experience with me. So that's why I casted mostly my family members, and I casted my boyfriend, my nephew. And then I think through the making of the film, actually, it brought my family back together.
Okay.
To reach a sort of understanding, and then coming out is still something that our family is dealing with, but then I definitely think the movie definitely helped like bring us together.
Right.
The Letterman, my short film, is based on the largest collection of LGBTQ love letters sent during World War II that we know of. And so I was very fortunate to option the rights to these letters. The letters were sent between two British soldiers from 1938 to 1941. There was over, I saw the original BBC article and I was like, I've got to be the one to tell this story. There's over 200 letters that Gordon sent to Gilbert. And so I spent many years kind of going through the letters and trying to find a narrative in there to create the short that is The Letterman. So,
great. Avery.
Yeah, Sequin was an idea that I had many years ago, and then we just ended up shooting it last year. And sounds like Kyle's story, it's unfortunately become more relevant as the year has gone on. But just a little girl meeting a trans person at the bus stop, and just zooming in and looking at that small moment to, in theory, analyze how our fears are learned and inherited by folks who are older than us often. That's our little short.
So much of the last couple of years has been dominated by COVID, and I'm sure as filmmakers, that's affected you also. It's affected film festivals. It's affected patrons who really like a film festival, not just to watch movies, but be with your community. I guess my question is, what's it been like having a return to in-person screenings and being able to see your film with an audience and see the film with your community?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, we've had the opportunity to travel to, a lot of festivals, especially, out in film. And it's definitely interesting. We've had the chance to go to festivals who are, we've been to before, so we know them. And then we've been to some newer ones, which has been a lot of fun. But
yeah,
they always give us this heads up, like, hey, this is our first year out of COVID. And, we obviously understand but it's that emotion of, we did a lot of online streaming stuff, a little bit ago.
yeah.
Our previous film. So to be in the audience, especially with a film that, I think is hitting close to home for a lot of people, to be honest, is scary. Because especially the film's a really sort of hot topic, and, you never really know how people are going to react. So in a way, like, the vulnerability piece for me was like, it was easier to do it virtually because you didn't get to see people's reactions, and you get to you got to sort of like hide behind this like online platform. But so although I love it much better because there's always that nervous piece of showing your film to an audience, but I think when it's all said and done, you're like, at the end of the day, it's like there's something about that. It just doesn't ever that emotion doesn't ever come online, if that makes sense. But yeah, so yeah, for me it was just more nerves than anything.
Great.
Yeah, for me, I made this film as my thesis film from UCLA. I actually was in a editing class right when COVID hit. So I remember I screened my very first rough cut in class, and then that week the school shut down. So since then I was not able to view it with any form of like audience until year. So I have to say it has been really, really great because like a lot of people after the screening, they come up to me and say that, oh, I have exactly the same experience, although we might come from all different cultural background, but I think the story somehow resonates with a lot of people. So I have to say I've been really touched by some people's reaction because I set out to make this film for my family, and it's a small film based on my life experience, and it's really rewarding to see it find resonance with the audience. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just wonderful to view it on such a big screen. I mean, that is like, I think that as for all filmmakers, we spend so much time creating something, to us, a piece of art. We put ourselves into, our films, and just to see it up there, it is incredible. That's just something that we've always dreamed of growing up, right? I think specifically for the Letterman, it's been great just to have audiences engage and interact with it. It is, as myself, as a bit of a history buff, everybody wants to know more about the love letters. They want to know more about queer culture during that time, and that's something that, I love engaging with audience members, after a screening.
Thanks, Avery.
It's been great. Watching film is such a communal experience, and while it's cool to watch them on your laptop or your phone, there's like nothing like sitting with a theater of people and going on a journey together. Our film is a very small story, so watching it with lots of people has amazed me in that people laugh a lot during it. So that was a surprise to me, but I'm glad it's bringing people joy.
That's great. Avery, I know you have like 1 minute left with us. I want to
do.
throw this question to you first. Can you talk about representation, why it's important to have queer artists telling queer stories, and why it's important to have, positive stories like this to get out in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. So I personally don't identify as LGBTQ, but it was very important for me in the story that our lead actor, who is a trans or non-binary person, was played by an actor who identified as either trans or non-binary.
Yeah.
And we went through a very interesting casting process. There's also an element of our story where the actor needs to match a prop. So not only finding a very specific actor, but a very specific actor who has a look identical to a prop was interesting. We had that cast until about a week before our shoot, and then that actor realized they were double booked with off-Broadway. So congratulations to them, but that put us in a sticky situation that led us to the exact person we needed for the film. Just a friend of the friend was like, hey, do you know this person? Try them out. And Maddie Mariposa, everyone cast them. They were amazing.
Great. So then we'll go back to, so let's go to Kyle right now.
Yeah, it's actually, it's very, very similar story on our end. I think this story, at first glance of the script, we said, hey, this is a really interesting story. But it wasn't until, we made we were very particular. We want to make sure that we casted somebody who was indeed a drag queen. We didn't want, to put an actor or an actress in a wig and then, call it a movie. And so we were very particular about that. And through that process, for us, we learned a lot because that person was really, at the end of the day, was telling their story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it was sort of, for us, it was like, this is a really important piece because this person has lived this full-heartedly. So when we realized that we were telling his story, we realized how important it was to get this voice out.
Mm-hmm.
And the drag queen, he goes by Ian Morrison. He's a fantastic. This is his first film, and
Yeah.
he had told us at the very end of this. He said that, I don't know if there was any other platform I would have been able to tell this story other than social media. So we learned how important this was. Sort of, we knew going into it was important, but just the connection piece really sort of drove home when we realized that we were telling his real life story.
Great. Okay. Sydney?
Oh, hi, Avery. So for me, I always know I want to make this story about, my relationship with my family. And but I did have to decide, do I want to make a documentary or is a narrative, but cast the real people? I think in the end, I decided to, try to use just the real person and also kept the real names in the film. It's also because, unfortunately, in China, I feel in the past 15 years, the situation have gone way worse for the LGBTQ community. Like now, the censorship has been historical high point, and then any mention of LGBTQ content could not be made. I think that's eventually why I decided to I want to put my name out there, put everybody's just to say that it still exists. And then I think that's why I made a movie with real people and real names in the end. Hopefully by making this, and hopefully more people, coming out and making these type of films, that we can fight this type of backwardness a little bit.
Great. Andy?
Can we repeat the question? You kind of cut out on my end.
Sure. Can you talk about the importance of representation, why it's important to have queer talent in front of the camera and behind the camera, and why it's important to tell positive, have positive portrayals of the LGBTQ experience?
Yeah, that was like a critical thing for me. I think that, I already surround myself with a lot of LGBTQ plus people, and they're my collaborators. Specifically though, for Letterman, that was something that to search out those people, to find, just keeping it as in front of camera and back of camera as diverse as possible. Both of our lead actors, identify as gay, and then I would say like 90% of the cast and the whole cast and the crew were also LGBTQ plus. And like to say why it's important to tell like these types of stories and these positive stories, I think that like for me, I wanted to tell a love story between two men. I think during World War II, I think we've seen plenty of movies with a man and a woman during war and being torn apart during such a tumultuous time. And we've never, we've seen a couple things, but like, we've never seen like a real story like this where they were a couple in love for many years. So that's why I just wanted to get it out there and get as many people to see as possible.
That is great. Thank you all so very much. The program is Being Who We Are. It screened it out on film September the 26th. Great response. It's now streaming through October the 9th. If you have not seen it, please watch it. There's some extraordinary films in here. Thank you, Kyle, for sharing this film with us. Thank you, Senin. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Avery, who had to leave. Again, these films will stream through October the 9th. These films are all available for audience awards as well. So watch these films, tell your friends about these films, and vote for these films. And thank you all for making these films, sharing them with our audiences, and most importantly, for taking time to talk to us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Talk to y'all soon. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.